Alright, YouTube, it's time for Occult Literature video number 90, Your Future Revealed by the Gods of Greece. This is a very, very strange little oracle work. It's also one of my favorites. It was as much fun editing this as it was the Oraculum, although it's, of course, shorter, I believe 32 pages in length. What it does is it's a very simplified oracle. You've got 13 questions that you can ask of these deities. You ask your question, then you have the deities, either their number or their name on slips of paper. You choose one, then you refer to that section to get your answer. And they're in Shakespearean verse. That's the fun part about it. They're little snippets from various Shakespeare plays, Romeo and Juliet and so forth. Of course, there are no Caliban quotes in here, so that makes it a little bit less entertaining, I suppose, but enough about that. Link in the description, as always, to where you can purchase my edition off of Amazon, a second link to my books blog, many more oracle works available if fortune-telling is what you're into, some astrology, grimoires, alchemy, everything under the sun. This work is sort of a typical oracle work in the sense of late 19th century, late 1800s sort of writing styles. But I haven't seen that specific marketing gimmick anywhere else, Shakespearean quotations. Most often, an oracle alludes to Napoleon or some fictional gypsy, the seaside Sibyl, Madame Zedakiel, or the Norwood gypsy, or some figure like that. Or they ascribe themselves to Napoleon, telling the tale that he had an Egyptian work or similar work of astrology and so forth from his archaeological expeditions in this area that he used to conquest much of the world, that he used to govern his troops in battle and decide who should be on the front lines and all these other things. That's basically where the semi-modern oracle tradition in fortune-telling comes from, although it does date back to the pre-Napoleonic era. You can go back even to the mid-1700s and you'll find similar styles of works. They typically were more astrological at first. They moved through the early oracle period where astrological constellations were used as placeholders for different categories of fortune-telling. And then you get some of this material which simplifies it further. I've heard of the golden wheel. There are many different methodologies. This is a far simplified system, but it's one of the more interesting ones. Specifically, you could take this same general idea, ask any question, make up your own answers for the categories, and it would work just the same. That is, you could essentially ask such an oracle anything. It's not like the oraculum of Napoleon. There are only a certain number of combinations of numbers that you can actually use to govern the questioning. With this kind of oracle, with loose leaves of paper, the number of answers is inexhaustible, essentially. Because you've only got a certain number of categories to choose from to give you the answer. You'd simply have to compile what you wished to ask in a standardized format. Very interesting work. The Shakespearean quotations give it a little bit of a twist. It gives it a little bit more entertainment quality and makes it a little bit less explicitly occult. But like I've said, an occultist, if they believe in the fortune-telling side of things, if they don't believe in determinism, if they believe in chaos theory or whatever, they can use such a system to their leisure. They can adapt it to their leisure. Whatever happens to work for them, whatever happens to be exciting for them. Additionally, it also occupies a place within occult history because the oracle tradition spans several centuries. I'm still researching it now. I've got a half a dozen other oracle works. Once they're all done, I intend to write a booklet specifically on the topic of the history of these works within fortune-telling, trying to determine who ripped off what material from what sources, essentially, in many cases. It's tied in with dream interpretation, palmistry, astrology, all of these different arts. Over time morph and are taken from one text to another, often without attribution. The Madame Zedakiel work has quite a bit in common with, I believe, the mid-1800s oraculum, universal fortune teller, rather. The mystic oracle, which comes a little later, also takes some material from it, and somehow appears to take material from a text written after it. or something along those lines. It's very, very confusing. It'll take quite a bit of in-depth study. I have to edit them all first into usable format. Suffice it to say, there's a little bit of confusion about who's originating what material, where it's coming from. But I am trying to get to the bottom of that as sort of a bibliophile study, honestly. It won't appeal necessarily to people who are into the more do-it-yourself stuff, but it's of interest to me. I've gotten sort of hooked on the Oracle works. So again, link in the description to where you can purchase my edition of this work off of Amazon. Never a facsimile, always hand-edited. Second link to my books blog if you'd like to peruse more materials of a similar nature. That's about all. Peace out.